Hello, Stash YouTubers. Today, I have an interesting, weird, forbidden vlog for you. Because that's what we do best here at the Stash Prada channel. Hope you're enjoying my YouTubes. There's too many diverse topics and I'm all over the place. So, I have a fluctuating following. But whatever. Today, going to do a book review and discussion of Ingo Swann. He was a member of the remote viewing Stargate project, so if you're into weird stuff, this is of course a favorite. The Stargate project is featured in the movie Men Who Stare at Goats, so you can have a, if you're not hip to this stuff, you can have a Hollywood connection, so you can home in on it, and you can rent Men Who Stare at Goats. So that was the code name for a U.S. Army secret unit. The Stargate project. Remote viewing, in my view, is the U.S. military's take on being a Taoist master, a Swami, a yogi, person who's familiar with projecting their consciousness out-of-body experiences, meditation, telekinesis, psychic, being sensitive. That's the U.S. Army's take on this kind of activity. So I guess the best way to look at it, or a way you could look at it, is the difference between the way the Americans have come up with this MMA martial arts versus your typical traditional martial arts, kung fu, karate, and whatnot. So, so you could, the MMA. I'm not going to get into a debate whether it's what it is or it's the greatest or whatever, but you can. Suffice it to say, the Americans or whoever came up with it, the UFC and all that, they have developed kind of almost a shortcut into an efficient way of the American martial art, even though there's obviously it's huge Brazilian jiu-jitsu component in other countries, of course. But I don't know, for lack of a better way to explain the Americans' take on what you might call sensitive activities, picking up psychic vibrations and all this stuff that's sort of put down. Some people are like, the Amazing Randy is it, and it's all baloney, and, I mean, Uri Geller was disproved with his bent spoon. Well, he's a dowser, and he's got some kind of mansion, and I think he actually located fossil fuels and stuff, so who knows? I mean, I'm digressing way off, but there is a accepted source of I just want to look this up. This just to prove that it has been accepted in some cases by your New York Times and your Washington Post. That this paranormal activity has been admitted. I don't have the name of the book here, but there is one that's, I'll leave it in the liner notes, a paranormal phenomenon or something like that, where they did use this technique of remote viewing to scope out what was inside a massive warehouse, and it turned out to be a huge Soviet Typhoon-sized class sub. And the Russians were like, "How did you come up with that?" And there's so much baloney associated with this type of thing, and some aspects of it are real. You might say, just like the fighting arts, Joe Rogan has been calling out Kung Fu and Tai Chi and this and that, as opposed to, just huge guys who huge guys who are in massive shape, kind of doing MMA and kind of crushing with it, the the American way, the American style. So too is this remote viewing would be like the activity again of a Swami or a a Taoist, guys who are fasting and meditating and involved in this type of stuff that I've done some Qigong videos on that. Might be getting back to it, whatever. But their view of it, and the Russians were famous for allegedly employing psychics. And if you look at the there was a paranoia, either real or not, or legit in many cases, about the Manchurian Candidate. So Russell Togg and Harold Plutov were the guys who inspired him, and another star is Ingo Swann, who the guy I'm talking about today, because this is the most recent book I've checked out. So this gets into the ufology and so forth, out-of-body experiences. So the Stanford Research Institute, it says they caught the attention of the Central Intelligence Agency, or some might say they're already together, right? They worked on this stuff. Now, how much was baloney, and they just collected big money? The Men Who Stare at Goats, John Ronson movie is definitely a you could say it's poking fun of it. I apologize, I don't have the name. I'm going to leave in the line notes of the quote unquote legit remote viewing experiment. Sorry guys, I'm not prepared. There's a book that woman wrote, Phenomena. So obviously hundreds of these things are fake, but some are real. For instance, Joe Rogan just had the legit Navy pilot, to the best of his ability, describing the Tic Tac UFO. So Swann, he had documented remote viewing activity on Jupiter, and he apparently some of his stuff has been backed up on that. The book Penetration, I think the main part of it wasn't his Jupiter thing. It was his examination of the moon. So there's just some hilarious stuff where he confronts a guy that's presumably a deep government operative, a kind of smoking man out of X-Files, who's known as Axelrod. So there's some very funny scenes in Penetration where he's working with Axelrod, and he finds that, he just confronts him, like, you can't tell me what's going on, like, with the Soviets, or whatever, and you can't tell me what I found with the moon, like, like, they were going back and forth, and he says this guy, Axelrod, was kind of moved, or kind of upset, when he said he did his thing, his basically his psychic penetration of the moon's surface, and it corroborates another book by a man named Leonard, like, We Are Not the Only Ones on the Moon, which is that there were some structures that he claimed to have seen there. Is there anything to this? Is it completely baloney? I don't know, but it makes for a good read, just like the one Jim Mars about the moon. And there's a hilarious scene where he sees guys working on the moon. He says he sees these different towers. The way they do it is they don't want to be influenced by pictures, so they get coordinates. So he searches the coordinates, just like on Earth. Like if they wanted to do remote viewing, the practitioner does not want to see pictures of the target. So they'll maybe have an envelope with the coordinates, the map coordinates, and he'll go from there. And then they'll draw it. And it's been said that they've had successes on it, and that's allegedly anybody can do it. You can try it, but you have to. I'd say you have to be at least calm and at least pretty well very practiced in meditation and stuff to calm yourself, and other ways to practice these techniques, which I might do another YouTube on my version of how I do it. Yeah. The declassified Stosh remote viewing training. Let me know in the liner notes if you want to see that. I didn't get any feedback from my Qigong training, so I don't know. But the wild part is, okay, so he seems to see these structures, which has been, to my mind, as an internet time waster, that there's been a lot more pictures or interpretations of what's seen on Mars. Many more structures on Mars that are unexplainable. I haven't heard as much as the moon. There is that wild movie that the Nazis are on the moon or whatever, and I did several YouTube parodies of that. But he sees what he says was intelligent people that look human-like on the moon. And he claimed that he became frightened when they realized that he was remote viewing them, and that. So he's like, well, they're psychic and I am, or he defines it in weird ways. It's very hard to tell when the remote viewers are trying to make money on training it and getting interviewed, what's real, what's not. I mean, really. I mean, a lot of people just say, well, it's real because, that's that mindset. If something is weird, then it's real or not. I think it's probably somewhere in the middle. I was personally told that, by someone, that the Stargate project was, a lot of it was money-making and few of them could actually do it. And like anything else, it's a money-making project, like the $500 Navy hammers or whatnot. So, I digress. So he's remote viewing, and the intelligent moon people, if you will, sees that he's honing in on it, and they realize it, and he gets scared, which is hilarious to me. I could just see a guy looking at a telescope, or he's looking with his third eye, and they're looking at him, and they're looking at him, and they're like, "What are you looking at?" Like they picked him, and that's what he says. That's the thing. Obviously, Ronson and Men Have Stare at Goats is right on in the fact that, this stuff is some of the most popular things in culture, or the culture of people that are basically looking into things, ghosts and UFOs and stuff. But it's mixed with reality and baloney. And now in this recent revelation by the U.S. Navy F-18 pilot, to my mind, on Joe Rogan, was the most organized and best revelation, or to the public, thing that has been revealed to the public. Admittedly, on the remote viewing thing, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of BS mixed up with it. I mean, Major Ed Dames has been another guy that's associated with this stuff. in his books they're pretty good, and he is one of the ones that offers, I think, the most extensive training. But when he's gone on the radio and stuff, I mean, he's made a lot of statements that he said him and his remote viewing associates, his team, if you will, has been dead wrong too many times, to my mind. Sorry, Major Ed. Reach out to me if I've slandered you wrongly. That's to my recollection. That's my best of my recollection. Ingo Swann is a little bit different. Now, they all write books with such wild stuff that, you know, you wonder. Now, I mean, did he see anything there? I don't know. I mean, you know, you definitely, with my limited telescope and stuff, I've just seen, you know, the tremendous craters and this and that. Also, the Axelrod replied to Ingo going, "You saw lights up there?" I've seen lights up there. I don't know if it's reflection. Phil, shout out to Phil, one of my fans of the Stash Prada vlog. He introduced me to a site where a guy just basically has an excellent camera and he's got a great telescope. And he says, I've been observing the moon for a year. I say that there's a hologram on top that protects so we can't see what's really up there. You know, I don't know. I don't know. But Ingo Swann, Penetration, I highly recommend it. Sorry if this isn't a great overview. I just wanted to take some of the hilarious parts. This remote viewing, again, my take on it is they practice projecting their consciousness out, observing things. They get sensitive. This is the U.S. Army. This is basically the U.S. Army's yoga, the U.S. Army's Taoist, you know, sensitive training. You know, it's like a Swami has become a sergeant or something. Men Who Stare at Goats is also a great movie as well, and an interesting book. What's your take on this remote viewing? You know, my experiences with it is definitely true. If you see any picture or anything that touches the ego, this type of stuff does not work. That is what that's what I verified. So Stargate program, if you need Stash, if it's getting that bad, call me in. Ingo Swann, Penetration. Let me know what you cats think of this book. I thought it was great. Take care.